Good morning, and welcome to the Poor Man's Bodywork series. Good morning. I got a lot of good comments on the last video, so I've decided to leave the comments on this one and maybe show you a little bit of the work I did here. I will be going over that early. This morning I got to do my brother's shopping first, so I got some questions. I have not had a chance to answer any comments. I've been very busy. I'm just checking the comments and approving them so far. Everyone is positive, and I appreciate that, and therefore I will continue on the series. So when I get a chance, I'll answer them. So thank you very much, everybody, and I want to show you now what's going on, and a little later on, in a later morning, I'm going to be getting into my Sunday best. Okay, my son had to go off to work, so I had a couple minutes here, and I let him do the intro recording for me. Okay, I worked on this. No videos were made while I was working on this, so I'm going to explain what I think the problem is, but I'm still not 100% sure. There is a vent here, and I didn't realize, but there is some kind of a vent here. It feels like the door is closed. Could be where the mice are coming in. It could be leaking here. I don't know. So, quite a few years ago, there was a little hole here way up in the corner. And I had mixed up some caulking. At the time I did not have any caulking. Silicone rather, or Bondo. So I mixed it in with the stainless steel and shoved it in a hole that was up here, because that's where mice, I think, were getting in. Well, I pulled out the plastic, the side piece that goes in here. And I found right where my finger's running here and right through here was all rusted. The hole, you can see the wheel, you can see the tire right through it after I pulled out all the rust and everything else. You can probably see the outline because there's only a couple of coats of Bondo on this. So I got more to do, but it got to around 4:30 yesterday afternoon, so I had to knock off. So I have my Harbor Freight grinder, but I can only reach up to here, actually about here, because of the heater box. And I got this will come off. Got a little bit of paint on it. I took the heater cover that went over the top. That's just a couple of screws up here, and this is the drain here. And no, it's not leaking out of here. So I can get in here. So my Harbor Freight, the $20 one with the 3-inch wheel on it, popped the breaker when I tried to put it in the work. So I managed to cut back the rust to about where my finger is. So there's about, from here to here, about an inch, 1 inch, and it ended about here. So I took a piece of galvanized, after cleaning all this off good, sanded as much as I could, put rusty metal primer on the bare metal, on the rusty metal, where I couldn't cut it off. I cut as much as I could off, down to about here, because it was good beyond there. I took about a 3.5-inch piece of metal and pop riveted it down through. Okay? And then I took another piece of metal, galvanized, and I made a curve. So I hope I'm in the camera here. I'm looking at my work, but I'm not looking in the viewfinder, and that's my problem all the time. And I put a little flange on it, so it overhang on this. So there was a little space of a little hole here. The damn videos are getting too long here. This is why I don't do this work on camera, because it slows me up. So, in other words, it's all sealed up now. And on the underside, I took a wire brush and hit it as much as I could in the wheel well, sprayed it with rusty metal primer, let that dry, and then hit it with undercoating. And that's the best I can do. That's the best I can do. So this is all formed in nice, but I gotta go and put a couple more coats on it. Over here, it was just surface rust in through here. This is a patch I told you about. It's very heavy gauge. I don't know what it is, 14 gauge or whatever it is, that I put in with stainless steel pop rivets, and I had all I can do to pop them with the big pop rivet gun to get them in here, because there was a small hole here, and I did this about 5 years ago or so. So here you can see some of the loose paint. Metal is good and solid. All right. I'm thinking seriously of maybe removing all this carpet here. You know, the floor is in good shape. This is a lot of, like I said, this is glue here. There's very little surface rust here. Very, very little here. Just a little tiny bit, so it's all good. And what I'm thinking of doing, the van is a mess. I know there's stuff all over the place, and when you're working, everything's disorganized. But I'm thinking of removing this carpet from underneath the engine cowling, and maybe removing the carpet up to this point. In other words, from here out will be no carpet, and do that right across the way onto the other side. On the driver's side, the same thing. Maybe right here, I can lift this again. This is just, now it's got good stainless steel screws in it. I can lift this up. So if I cut this here, and then I could probably get one of them strips that they sell for putting carpet in houses, you know, to transition from a vinyl floor to a carpeted floor, and get one to go right across the back. Okay, because there's no water coming in through here, so this carpet can stay here, and I would rather have the carpet in here, but you don't really need it. This is not good, but the problem's going to be, I'm going to have to piece in this rubber, and it's not going to look good. If I remove all this carpet here, okay, like I did on the other side, I took this bolt out, lifted the cowling just a little bit, and pulled the carpet out from underneath, because it keeps this moist all the time. Well, it's not now, it isn't, but when it was leaking, and it makes this rusty. So what I would have to do is to remove it, but then I got to piece it in and butt it up to here. It's not going to look good. So, you know, you can see where now, there's so much stuff in this van. You can see now it's like the carpet is matched in, so it don't look too bad. But if I get this out, then I gotta piece in some more of this stuff, and I have to piece it in all over. See, like around here, if I pull this up, all I got to do is loosen the bolts, lift the cowling, and pull the carpet out from underneath the cowling. But I'm not going to pull the cowling out and go right under, try to go under this with the rubber. It's not going to happen. I didn't do it here. I just went around. I painted it black right up to this rubber seal. There's a rubber seal here. See? So that's probably how I'll do it. On the other hand, I could just sand this really good, the metal underneath here, and paint it gloss black, and just worry about the rubber on the passenger side floor where your feet are. In other words, just have this in this area here, and then the same way over there, and then everything could be painted gloss black, including this. So that's a decision I'm going to be making as I go along. All right, so I want to thank all of you for your kind comments. I had time enough to go in and approve every single one of them. I have not had one negative comment. I don't mind polite criticism, but you know, I've had trolls, and one of my viewers asked me, I thought you weren't going to do body work on video anymore. That's very true. I was not going to do body work because I was getting pretty damn sick and tired of the so-called experts that think they know it all and fail to understand that not everybody has welding equipment, the necessary tools and things to do it right. So the majority of us guys, especially when you don't have a lot of cash, you have to do things the best way you know how with the money and the equipment that you do have. So the purpose of making these videos is to help you guys out there that may never have done this, and it gives you some ideas. Not the right way, but it's the way I can do it and afford to do it. So it took me a long time to get that in there. I would say it took me a couple of hours probably from the time I dug everything out of here and cleaned it up as much as I could. And then up in the corner here where I showed you where that caulking and steel wool is, I had my gloves on and I took the Bondo glass after I mixed it up and took my fingers and just pushed it in there, because you'll never get it in with a spatula. So now that's got the Bondo glass up in there, but I have a feeling maybe the leak is coming from here. Some of you had said it could be coming from the engine cowling. I don't understand how it can be, because when you pull this cowling back, it butts up against the dash over here. So I'm not sure. I don't think that's the case. It could be coming from this vent here, but I have no way of knowing. I'm going to pop the hood and maybe I can see something there. I got to get going on my brother's shopping once the bank opens. Then I got to get his shopping done. So I'll be starting on this probably around noontime today. The advantage of doing this is I'm getting a lot of hints and everything from guys out there that are familiar with these vehicles. Now, the air conditioning system hasn't worked for years. Okay, it's R12, so we're not worried about that. I have no idea, because I can't see the other end of that vent that I showed you up in the corner. It doesn't come out in the wheel well. You wouldn't be getting fresh air from the wheel well, so it's got to be somehow from there. Now, years ago, when I trying to find that leak that I never can find, that's on that side, that's why I made that little catching trough there, that little tray. If you look back on my videos, you'll see that. So I had removed this, and I had put duct seal in, silicone, you name it. I put it in there to try to stop it, and never could find out where it is. So I have no idea where that vent is, but when I had this off, I couldn't find nothing under there. It's all blind area trying to work in there. So I don't know where that vent comes out. And if water's coming out of that vent, I hope not. I may have to silicone the thing up. I don't know what to say, but my wife used to use the vents quite a bit, and I know that if you put them on, you get cool air if you set the vents on the dash. Let me just take you over to the dash here. All right, you got your controls for vent and heater and so forth like that. So when you slide that bottom lever over to vent, it'll open up the vent down below here. which is the one I showed you way up in the corner on the side, behind the heater box. On the driver's side, there is no such vent. This is the tray I told you about. I catch water in it. I put these napkins here. I don't really need them, but every time it rains, I want to make sure nothing's leaking here. What's going to happen is, in the wintertime, this was a clear hose at one time, Tygon tubing, I guess. This freezes up, and then the tray backs up, and then the water comes out and onto the floor. So that's the only issue with this type of system. When everything's frozen, the line freezes up and clogs up, and then I get water in here. But at least I have no carpet, and I'm able to clean up the water. It's not going to hurt anything, because this is all painted underneath, and this is rubber here, so the water will just sit here, and you can just soak it up with some towels. It's better to have it that way rather than to have carpeting on top and constantly holding water, which is not good. On the driver's side, a few months ago, I put a lot of undercoating on the inside down there. And between that and working on the inside on the driver's side, I no longer have any water coming in, but I do have water coming in from under here. There's some area underneath here that it's getting in, and I cannot find it. I've given up. I've had a guy even look at it and put a garden hose in it. It wouldn't leak, but it will leak when it rains. It's not coming in from the pillar. Everything has been checked. All the gutters have been done. There's no leaks. I remember showing you I did Bondo and filled it in. Everything was smooth, and whatever holes I did find there are all closed in. But on the passenger side, I have no idea where that vent is. Let me get a light in there, and then I got to get going on this van here, and then I'll give you an update on things I'm doing. Let me get a light, and I want to show you the vent one more time with better lighting. All right, that's a vent right there, right where my flashlight is moving there. And that's the area where I plugged it up, okay? It was a hole of about maybe not even an inch. But I did that quite a long time ago, and I simply added Bondo glass by pushing it in there by hand to get it up into the corner. And this is the sheet metal. You can see I pop riveted it in there, and then I filled in. But I got a lot more. I just put primer on it now. It's always a question of whether you should Bondo over primer or not, but I didn't want to leave it bare Bondo overnight, so I hit it with some primer. Over here is fine. The floor is perfect. And I got a Bondo in here where the patch is that I put in 5 years ago. And over here, I'll probably put a little Bondo in there. That's very heavy metal, and I cannot tap that down with a ball peen hammer because the way this floor is made, there's a little valley in here. I can feel my finger. There's a little valley in here. There's like a contour. So this overhangs a little bit. So since I'm going to be smoothing this out and then painting it and then having that rubber on top, I do need to get rid of this lip, which is about an 1/8 inch high over here. Here it's just the thickness of the metal, and that metal is really, really heavy. So that's nothing wrong with that. So even here, so this was good and solid. There was no, other than a bad area of rust from about here down to about here, which all came out, and you can see the tire there. So it's about an inch wide bad area. But I wasn't able to even get my tin snips in there. I just couldn't get enough strength. With arthritis in my thumbs and everything else, I just can't put the pressure on the tin snips. I just don't have the tools to cut metal properly. So everything has to be done by hand with tin snips. So I'm doing the best I can. I even formed this metal around here to follow the contour of this. Then this piece screws down here in this little hole. Okay, it fits in there like that, and it fits the contour of this perfectly. I was very careful with the measurements, and it just screws in. There's a screw here, there's a screw here, and one down here. So when I'm ready to seal that up, that'll be good. When that's actually in place and lifted up to match the hole here, you've got about 1/4 inch of space here. And that is probably because of the thickness of the carpet that was originally in there, because carpet was all up in through here, but there's not going to be any carpet. This is going to be smooth, black, and in this area here, you can see where the floor, the way it's made. I'm going to put my rubber in, I'm going to contour it like that, and over here. And how I do that, like I did on the driver's side, and I'm talking too much here, is make a paper template. I learned this from a guy that was laying linoleum on our kitchen floor about 12 years ago. And I saw that he put down this thin brown paper on the entire floor and matched it up to all the turns, and in other words, made a template out of paper, transferred that to the vinyl and cut it. And that's exactly how I did the other side. So all this will be done like that, and the vinyl will come out. It'll come out to the end of this here, and that aluminum will go on top. That aluminum looks like hell. I'm going to show you that again out there. And then I got to get started on this work here. So this has got to be Bondo. This has got to be transitioned smoothly. Yesterday I worked on this and it's hopeless. I took a wire brush and I hit this whole thing aggressively, and all it's got is, it's just horrible. You know, there's nothing you can do because I have nothing. I have to use this piece. This is worse than the driver's side. I'm not too worried about this. I can put a washer in there and hold that down with a screw. I can even glue it down or whatever, because there's going to be a screw here. So, I mean, I can even cut this off if I have to. But I want it to match the other side. So. When the van was customized, like I say, it was done before we bought it by a company called Wagon Wheel. You've probably seen the name Wagon Wheel on the hood of the side of the hood of the van. So I have no idea where they get these things from. It'd be nice if I can get 2 new ones, but that's down the road. But I'll have to use this. There's no choice. This stuff is terrible. It's like I can't get it out. I aggressively wire brushed it, tried to get it out. I've used cleaner on it. I've used oil. And what I usually do when I put this back, like I did the other side, is I coat this area, these bad areas, with a light film of grease, and then put it down and screw it down. My feeling is the grease will keep it from corroding anymore. It's being aluminum, it's going to corrode from all these years. And remember, the van is a 90, so it's a senior van. All right, I got to stop talking here. There's going to be nothing but talking on this video, and nothing's going to get done. All right, I got the seat out of the way. It's a little awkward getting it out through the doors. I did not get my work clothes on yet. It's a couple hours later. Did my brother's shopping already. I figured I got a 4-foot straight edge here. If I butt this right up against here, you can feel where the foam is, the hard foam that they use under the carpet. It goes down. So I figured if I just cut this, draw a line and cut right here, I'll be able to put a transition in this area, or I could bring it up. But right now it's butted up against the seat belt thing. So this is, I don't know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches wide maybe. So I could actually cut it here, put my transition in there, which would probably be the best way to do. It's right up against there. And eliminate all this carpet in the middle here. So that would mean to remove all this carpet up here, but it's gonna look pretty bad when I have to transition this, because I didn't cut this to be seen. I was figuring to leave the carpet like that, but it's so uneven. Here it's cut back over to here and cut back way up there. So I'll probably have to trim off some of the rubber on that side and try to piece in more, or I might not. I'll probably not put any rubber in here and just into this area. So that is what I'm deciding to do now. Alright, this one here is a little more rusty than the passenger seat, but now I can see where I'm going with this straight edge. I'll probably come up to here with the cut, because I can feel the high area here, and then it drops, so I'll probably cut right about in here. That will eliminate. This never went under this anyways, because this part of the carpet that was here was all slimy and fungi. You can see where I painted it, you know, everything's good in there. Floor is good and solid. Good and solid. Of course, you got, I don't know if you can see that, we got the little grooves in here, the way it's made. I pulled it out from under the cowling. There's little pieces in there. Alright. You gotta vacuum this out. This floor is good. There's no, not even rust here. It's just all glue. So it's in really good shape over here. Now, it was originally underneath the cowling. Hopefully, the cowling will seal good to the metal floor. If not, well, that's going to be a problem. I think it will, though. Alright, we're going to do this off camera. Alright, took me about an hour to clean this up. What you see here is all the glue. And sanding it down, all I'm going down to the, what appears to be a primer of some sort that they used on the van. So, this will get rusty metal primer. The rest will get painted and it'll have the self-etching primer. This is the area right here where the water was accumulated under the carpet. Now this is gray primer. There doesn't seem to be any rust here at all. And the more I sand, I'm going down to bare metal here. So this does not need rusty metal primer. The bases I sanded down as best I can, banging my hands in this because this don't come off. There is a nut here and this thing swivels. There's a cotter pin in it, but I don't know if it's a captive nut on the bottom or what. I'm not about to mess around with it because if I took this off I could do a better job on the base, but that's alright. Doing the best I can here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime all this from here back. I got Bondo to do here and so forth, so I'm not going to be doing anything here, but I'm going to be working here. I want to get the rusty metal primer on the bases first and proceed from. So I think I get one of them strips like they have in the house for your linoleum to carpet transition, and normally they're nailed down, but I can drill the holes out a little bigger in them. Get one that's like aluminum or something, and go from one end to the other and just screw them down with round head stainless steel sheet metal screws, which I'll have to get at my hardware store, but it won't take that much to do that. But of course I got to paint this first, so I'm going to prime all this. I'm never going to get this perfect here, you know. I'm not much for sanding. I never had a lot of patience for sanding, and you know, you really don't want the floor too slippery anyways, just slide around on it. But you can see what I'm talking about with the rubber there. It looks like hell. But I'm not going to take all that out. That was a lot of work putting that in there. So for now, I'm going to, see, I sanded so much I'm down to bare metal here. What I'm going to do now is put some rusty metal primer on the bases underneath. And then I'm going to do all this. I got to mask this off yet with the self-etching primer. I think I have a little bit left. If not, I got regular auto gray primer. So between the two, I should be okay. And I don't have any more black paint, not Rust-Oleum, to do this. But I got the brush on that I bought, that I showed you, and that was going to be for the floor because that's what I used over here. But whether that little can is going to be enough to do this, I don't know. But I'd like to get that painted. And if I get that painted, I might be able to get the seats in, but I could probably get the seats in anyways, because I can paint around them, not a problem. Once I spray the rusty metal primer on the bases and everything and get this painted, I got a can of cheap black paint, gloss, but it's not all that good. It's not like the Rust-Oleum, which covers in one coat. This is thin, watery stuff. It's not worth very much. But we'll paint this. I'll hit this with a light gray primer like I did on the other one, and then proceed from there. Alright, I got the rusty metal primer underneath that, and then a little overspray, but I'm not worried about that because the base is going to be painted with the Rust-Oleum to brush on the little pint cans. And I used a flap wheel on this side over here. There's like a paint here, and then there's like a factory primer underneath. And as I was sanding, it kept coming, chipping off, you know. You can see there's good solid metal there. So I'm going to put the self-etching primer on this. And then I got to feather in some Bondo here. But what I want to do is to put primarily in here, I want the self-etching primer. I've got a little bit. And I have a little bit left of the regular gray body primer, so I may be able to do this whole thing between those two cans. They're only about a quarter full, so, and that's it. If not, I'll just paint it black right over this, because that's the story there. So I smoothed this out as much as I could. There's like a sealant they used. It's not silicone, but it's very hard, and I couldn't even grind it down underneath that molding when they did it at the factory, I guess. Even though the carpet was down and they put this over it. So we got the rusty metal primer on the base there, and this base is already painted, so we're all set there. I gotta dig out the cheap can of black paint, off-brand. Probably about $2 a can, I guess, but that's all the black I've got, and we'll do that base over there. Or I could brush it on, but that takes longer to dry, because what I want to do is to get both seats back in here again. Once I get the floor sprayed, and I gotta mask all this off first. Once I get the floor sprayed, and when it comes time to brush on the other paint, the black paint that I'm going to put over this on the floor, it doesn't matter. So the last thing I'm going to do is this hole down here, because I'm not too worried about that. Once I get this primed, then I'm going to do some more bondoing in here. This got all dirty from the sanding and everything, so I got to clean all that out. Well, I guess for the cheap paint, it don't look too bad. Had to keep spraying it though to get it to cover as good as the Rust-Oleum, which was done on this side. But I'm happy with it. I got the self-etching primer over here that used almost a whole can. So we'll see if I can do the rest of this with the primer. Like I said before, that's glue that you see there. I'm not going to worry about it because it's fairly smooth, and it'll paint right over that. And when that's dry over there, I can put the seats back in. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get that trim in with the seats in, because they overhang. But I'm going to have to wait till next week. I don't have the money now to buy any more stuff, so I'll put the seats in and then try to get the trim in as best I can. Worst case scenario, I'll have to fasten it at the end, maybe 3 screws in the middle, and 1 at the other end, because the seat's going to overhang and I'm not going to be able to get anything in there. A screwdriver, in other words. The farthest out I can come with the trim is right here, and the original aluminum came around like this. Well, it doesn't have to. I can cut it here. But with the seat sticking out, I may not even be able to get a screw in there. Well, get a wee bit more in here. And I'll save it for where I'm down to the bare metal here, in those places. And so, it didn't need any Bondo at all on this floor, except up in that corner where I showed you earlier. And off camera on the original work here, there was a small hole here, which I took care of. So, well, it ain't too bad. Could be better. So those little ridges in the floor are going to have to just be that way. But that's probably will look okay, I guess. So I don't think that's too bad. Yep, that's all dirt underneath there. I'll vacuum all that out before I put the black enamel on there, but I'm not going to do that until I get that a little more Bondo in there. It don't need all that much, not like the driver's side. But I'll tell you that that thing over there don't look too good now. I guess I could cut it back and round it off a little bit on the corner. Am I in camera? Let that dry and I can get the seats back in. Yeah, if this has got contact cement on it, but what I can do is I can take make it round over here like, but I don't want to do that too much because I don't want, when you're driving, you don't want to get your feet stuck into this. Now the seat overhangs a little bit. Otherwise, I'm going to have to piece in more. I'll probably just paint it black, try to round this off, clean up under here and trim this with a straight edge and make it a little curve here, and get some more contact cement. I'm all out of that too. Oh man, one thing after another. So this will be a while. I think what we're going to do is end the video. I want to show you one thing that I always do when I can't open a can of paint. The covers they put on the Rust-Oleum, when you first buy them, you squeeze them in the side and you pull it off. Not a problem. Winter, use this. This is almost full. Story of my life. The most important paint that I have. And I went to try to get it off like I always do, and I bang the cover off. And it destroys the top. And the top, I threw it out, but it will not work. There's a lot of paint in here. Now, how anybody got any ideas as how to get the paint out of here, put it in a jar so I can use a brush on it? Because it's still under pressure. How, if I puncture a hole in it, it's probably going to spray all over the place. Maybe somebody's got some ideas. This concludes today's video. I'm going to be doing some Bondo today, and I'll show you the results of that when I'm done on that little area on the passenger side. So this concludes the bodywork video for today. Thanks for watching.